If you've ever sat down to prepare a presentation and thought, I'll just Google it real quick, and 3 hours later you found yourself deep in a conspiracy theory Reddit thread about lizard people, well, this lesson is for you. Because today, we're diving into how to do research for a public speaking presentation. Real research, not the last minute Control-C, Control-V type. In this lesson, you'll learn why research matters, where to find credible sources, and, spoiler, it's not your best friend's blog, how to mix academic facts with lived wisdom and personal testimony, and yes, whether or not you can and should use AI. So let's get into it. Now you might be asking yourself, why bother researching anyway? Imagine giving a speech on climate change, and someone in the audience, I don't know, maybe it's me, raises their hand and says, "How do you know?" Or, "What's your source on that?" And you say, "I just do." That might be true, but it's not great. You see, doing research equals building credibility. It shows your audience that you've done your homework, that you're not just recycling TikTok trends, and that you actually know what you're talking about. Plus, research helps you provide evidence, that good stuff that makes your speech more persuasive and more impactful. So, where do you find the good stuff? Let's break it down. The first place you could look would be to academic and peer-reviewed sources. And a good first stop would be your college library. Yes, that's the link that you've ignored on your student portal. You might start by looking for the library databases like JSTOR, EBSCOhost, Academic Search Complete, or any of the other ones that are supported through your library database. There, you'll find a plethora of peer-reviewed journals, and these are written by experts, even practitioners sometimes, in the field, and they're reviewed by their peers or other experts. You could also turn to Google Scholar. Not just Google, but Google Scholar, which is a free and easy-to-use tool to find research papers as well. It weeds out the .com sources and other commercial sites that might not be as relevant or legit. Now you can use any one of these resources to find definitions on key terms, to support your topic through data and statistics, to build historical context or support for your theories. Here's a tip. Whenever doing your research, you'll want to check the date. Typically, the rule of thumb is to look for resources from the last 7 to 8 years. Something from 2003 would be considered vintage and is likely outdated. Okay, so beyond academic journal articles, where else could you go? Well, we should not discount wisdom from real people. And here's where things get really interesting. Not all beautiful knowledge lives in a journal article. Some of it can be found within our lived experiences. So you might consider interviewing a practitioner, someone who does the work on the topic that you're presenting. A nurse, a teacher, a mechanic, a coach, maybe a PR specialist or community organizer. You might also consider talking to elders or wisdom keepers. These are individuals with great cultural, spiritual, or historical insight that's been passed down through generations. These voices give your speech depth, heart, and most importantly, perspective. Now, imagine saying, "According to Miss Thomas, a tribal elder in my community," that's going to hit a lot harder than quoting a Wikipedia article. Here's where you start to blend your sources. Let's say that your topic is mental health in college-age students. You could use a peer-reviewed study for statistics, citing in 2025 a study from the Journal of College Health. You could also interview a counselor on campus about the trends that they've seen in students at your school. You could share a quote from an elder, perhaps maybe your grandmother, about what mental health and well-being look like in their generation. And you could even include your own short personal story, anecdote, or testimony to show your connection to the issue and how it impacts your life. This combination of facts, experience, and emotion makes for excellent, audience impact. A few cautions. Definitely watch out for sketchy sources because not all information is created equal. So if you're using websites, here's how to avoid falling into the .com trap. Always be careful with .com sites. .com actually stands for commercial, like blogs, opinion pieces, or anything or anyone who's selling a product. Wikipedia is a good starting place for research, but because it's a wiki and anyone can contribute, it's not always the most relevant source to cite. What you should look for are .edus, educational sources, perhaps a .gov, a government resource, or a .org, such as a nonprofit, though you still want to check for bias. These sources have higher peer-reviewed standards for publication. You'll want to ask yourself, who wrote this? What's their agenda? Is the information current? And is it backed by any other sources? If a site said something like, scientists agree that the moon is hollow, maybe you should dig a little deeper about who those scientists truly are. Can you use AI to research? Let's get real. Yes, you could use tools like ChatGPT, Bard, or other AI helpers, and I'm sure there are hundreds by the time you're watching this video. And those are great tools for brainstorming ideas, summarizing the research that you found, or practicing phrasing your arguments in important and relevant ways. But, and this is a big but, AI is not a source in and of itself, so you can't quote it like it's an expert. AI doesn't know things. It just compiles and predicts words. So you need to verify everything that it gives you. You can think of AI as that overconfident study buddy. They sound smart, but you should definitely double check the facts before you go around citing them. Now, don't sleep on personal testimony. It's actually one of the most powerful sources that you have. Yourself. If you've lived the issue that you're talking about, sharing a personal story or reflection can be evidence, especially when it's blended with academic or community resources. Just remember, one person's story is never the whole truth, but it is a lens. So balance it with other types of evidence to show a bigger picture. Before you go, and before we end, a few last-minute tips. Start your research early. Last-minute research ends up in a lot of wasted time and regret. Believe me, I know. Next, keep your sources organized. Try to use citation tools like Zotero, EasyBib, or even a notes app to keep all of your information organized. Then, you'll want to cite your sources out loud in your speech, using at least 2 out of 4 identifiers. You might say, for example, according to a 2023 study in the New England Journal of Medicine. And in doing that, you've shared both the year and the name of the source, hitting 2 of the identifiers. Most importantly, research isn't just about proving your point or persuading people. It truly is about respecting your audience and respecting them enough to be accurate, fair, objective, and thoughtful. So remember, do your research, respect the sources, rock your mic, and you too can become a transformative speaker.